Today we're going to be playing with masking fluid, watercolour paints and also opaque white. So let's get the brushes wet and let's get started. Okay, first thing to draw is a level line and we use that for the horizon. Just going to wet the very top of this with some clean water. Doesn't matter if it goes over the line, of course not. A small amount of cerulean blue. I want it quite pale really on there. Okay, probably a little bit of, let's go for a bit of turquoise in there as well, just to brighten it in places. That'll do for the sky. I'll give that a quick dry. Then using my size 6 brush, all I want to do is create just a few little areas in the background, just to give an impression of trees. Also do a tree line, that's all I want. In fact, I can just weaken that down a little bit more, and all this is, by the way, just indigo. It's up to you how many trees you want in there. I might put a little bit of brown in there. That's a small amount of raw umber, just to vary it slightly. I might go all the way across. Give a nice levelish line as well from there on. So I'm working below that pencil line now. Only because I don't want it too high. And they can fade it just in places like this there. Look. Just by lifting off a small amount of paint. And widen it a little bit if you want to. I'm going to widen this slightly there. Please do me a favour by clicking on that subscribe button down below and also that like button as well. Because when you do that, that will encourage me to make more videos for you, but also it will help my YouTube channel be found by more arty people looking to have fun with those watercolour paints. So a big thank you from me if you do that. Drop in some brown, just a little bit different in the middle there. Only because I want to, no particular reason. And once again, give it a quick dry. Now the masking fluid. The one I'm using today is one by PBO and it's a drawing gum. But because it's latex free, you don't get that horrible smell, which is why I prefer to use this one. As for the brushes, now don't laugh at these, okay? I've got a very old size 00, which is this one here. Yes, I know, I'll tell you about those in a minute. A very stiff bristle brush as well, an old one. So they've all got to be very old brushes. And look at these two here, look. These are masking fluid covered brushes. And I've done this on purpose, so flatten this one out to like a little flat area, like a top of a mushroom, that sort of idea. And that's going to be used to roll the masking fluid onto the paper. This one, we can use little stabby marks, just to create tiny little marks here and there as well. And that can also be rolled. Every one that you make like these are completely different. So when you've got some old brushes lying around, which are destined for the bin, all you need to do, go into your masking fluid like this lot, and stab it. See, that's all I'm doing. Then you can use that to roll horizontal marks onto your paper and vary it as well. Keep going horizontally across the paper to create those marks. So you can just reload it again. See the idea? And this makes it nice and random at the same time. Go to my size 00. Load that one up, take a little bit off, and just drag in a few little horizontal marks in there as well. A little bit more. Definitely making sure you definitely work in that direction all the time. Because we're trying to create light reflection on the water, the only way we're going to do that is by reserving the white of the paper and then applying the paint over the top. I'm going to go right up to that horizon now, but leaving plenty of gaps in between at the same time, all the way to my masking fluid on the end. Okay, I'm going to put some more on now, I'm going to work my way down, but I'm going to stop probably around here. Now when you get to this area here, what I'm going to do, drag over a few little lines like this lot, to create a waterfall. Really? Yeah, I know. Let's do a waterfall. Just off the top of my head really, just playing with the idea. See what we can do. So a few lines coming down from this area here, so swooping over the side, like that. I love it, I love it. All the way down. And you can use your rolling brush the same way, your mushroom brush. So you can use that to roll down as well, to create texture. A few little lines here and there, they can start to work out the sort of shape you're looking for this bit of a mini waterfall really. So roll those brushes when you're doing this. Play with the idea and see what you can create by looking at texture and lines. This is why I'm using my size 00 brush. Create those sort of nice line effects. Just to reserve the white of that paper. When you get down to this area here, this is my little stubby brush. I can use that to create little splatter marks. Just to begin with anyway. Being a little bit more imaginative really when you're working on this and saying, well, what can I make out of this? I had no idea what I was going to create when I started this, so we'll see how it turns out. Now when you wash your brushes out, don't use your normal water pot, i.e. this one here, which is my double water pot. Use an old jar with some water in it, anything like that will do. Because one thing you don't want to do is infect your normal water pot. If you do that, you'll find that when you go to wash your brush out, it will then mix with the paint. Now I'm going to get my stiff bristle brush, get some latex, and start to splatter. That's all I'm doing. Get it all over your finger as well, though. Lots and lots of splattering going on here. And more so down here where we can imagine some froth kind of kicking up. We'll increase all of that later on anyway. This will just help in the background. Okay, now I need that to completely dry, all of it. Then we can add some paint over the top. Now this is all dry, I'm going to stick with my size 6 brush. It's quite small really, but it'll do. And I'm going to wet the paper. Really, I know, I'm just going to wet it. But avoiding that horizon. I don't want to blur that really. So wet it all through, all over the paper. Over down, from there upwards obviously. You can use a bigger brush for this if you want to. And allow that water to soak into the paper. Okay, I'm going to go in first of all with this colour, which is a turquoise. Oh, turquoise, what a lovely colour this is, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful I tell you. A little bit towards the horizon. Get some more, far too much paint in my palette. If you end up with paint in your mixing palette, don't worry. Save it for another painting. Don't throw it away. Don't wash it down the plug hole. I tend not to. Bringing this over the waterfall as well. That's a bright blue, isn't it? Look at that. Or greeny blue, really. Then I'm going to go for this one, which is the indigo. The consistency of this mix is really more of a milky consistency. A little bit thicker than tap water. That's all it is. I'm also trying to leave gaps in between as well in places. When you get towards the horizon, just ease off that dark colour a little bit more. And you can vary these colours as much as you want to. You can add a bit of green in there if you want to as well. Follow the contours of that waterfall as you bring these lines down. Try to maintain the wetness of the paper as well. Then for the phthalo blue, now this is a really bright blue. Just to brighten it in places, I'm going to add a little bit down here. Just randomly like that, quite watery down there actually. Just to change the colour in places, that's all I want to do. Just so it's not all the same, you know. And I do that with this colour as well, which is a raw umber. Again to a milky consistency. Look at that. That's a bright blue, isn't it? It really is. I'm even going to go for a little bit of Payne's Grey in there as well, which is this one here. Just on one of my half pans. Add that in for those really dark areas. And that for me is going to be along the waterfall here. But leaving plenty of the other colours showing through as well. Just so it's not all the same, you know. A few slightly darker accents in here as well. They'll all come together in a bit, okay? Leave it to dry at room temperature for probably 2 hours or so. Depends how warm your room is. Then once it's nice and dry, we can then remove that masking fluid. Now then, it's nice and dry. Get some clean fingers using a bit of kitchen roll. Okay, then start to remove that masking fluid. Here we go. The big reveal. We need to fine tune all of this anyway with our colours. Well, first thing to do is get all that masking fluid off the paper. And make sure you don't miss any. I've done that many times. I'm going to go for my size 00 brush, but this is a better one now. Starts off a little bit of turquoise. And use that to paint horizontal lines now, quite a lot of them, but short and long, sometimes thinner, sometimes wider. And you find the further you go towards the horizon, the smaller and finer those lines are. So only paint those when you're just about to run out of paint. So keep the paler colours towards the top and then the darker colours as you work your way down. This will start to even out some of those reflections as well. And don't worry if you cover too many of those up. There's another technique we'll be using again shortly, where we can add even more highlights within the water. So stay tuned for that. Break up some of those masking fluid highlights as you do this, just so they look a little bit more horizontal and varied. Also do the same thing down the waterfall. So when you get down that far, let's just do a few more here a minute. All you need to do, too wide, give it a wipe. Think about those thicker and thinner lines that you've got down there and stagger those marks, don't make them too even. Also consider the way it sort of falls over the top. So that's falling over the top, probably from this direction maybe, just coming down like that. Break up those lines. I'm going to have it wider here, a little bit thicker there, leaving gaps in between places. Then bringing that line down. Then this is sort of swooping over this way, just curls over the top into that abyss. Just remember to vary the thickness of the lines as you do this. Don't make it too even. Then we'll add even more froth in there shortly. So it curls over across there, like that. Oh, I enjoy this. This is exciting, this is. Creating the waterfall. Think about those horizontal ripples we can see around there. The sort of swoops over there, doesn't it? Change the direction in the middle. A bit difficult to kind of work out where that goes. There's going to be more or less vertical there, isn't it? And work your way around the waterfall doing this. Varying those lines, varying the thicknesses, leaving plenty of gaps in between as well. All ready for when we introduce the white paint shortly. But, sorry, did you say white? Yeah, I did. White. White. I'm going to get my indigo and pop that into here. And some lamp black or Payne's grey, anything like that will do. Mix that in with that, just to darken it marginally. Not too much though, I don't like to use too much lamp black, because it can look a little bit too flat. So it's nice if you can mix your own blacks instead. Bring those lines down. Imagine it kind of swooping over the edge of that waterfall. Just falling and falling. Now then, using a damp clean brush, it's going to soften down just to reduce some of those white highlights. Now I'm doing that on purpose because I'll be putting white over the top, but I want some of these areas underneath to still be quite pale, you know. So I'm going to completely cover them. I want it to be fairly dark down there. When you're using white paint, what you need to do, apply it all over the paper in horizontal lines. Make sure those lines are varying thicknesses and varying lengths as well. And also thinner and shorter towards the horizon. You can increase them a little bit more towards the centre, or just off centre where we've got that lighter part within those trees on the horizon. Just break up those lines, don't make them too even. That's all you need to do. But make sure also that you leave plenty of that blue colour showing through. Okay, we're getting down to the waterfall now. Gotta make sure this is still nice and creamy, but just about paintable. Want it fairly white. I'm going to start off with the centre, around here maybe. And I'm going to imagine different sections of the waterfall. I don't want it all looking the same all the way around. So for example, what I mean by that, let's work on an area coming down here now. Give it a wiggle and a jiggle as it comes down. And the same again. Might want to thicken that paint down a little bit. And the other side of this area is going to be here. It's going to be one whole section. Just wiggle and a jiggle. Don't make it too even. And areas in between as well. Alright, let's take some paint off that brush. And bring that down. Tiny simple marks. All the way down. Though it sort of flows away from the surface above. Just drops all of a sudden. Down towards, well, wherever it's going. We don't know. So now I've got a gap in between those areas there. Another gap there. So I can do another one here. with yet another gap in between these two areas here, so I'm going to leave a bit of a gap there. But what I'll do when the brush is just about run out of paint, I'll have some very fine dots and details in there as well. And if you find that you've added too much white paint on, what you can do once it's dry is tone it down with a little bit of colour, but very, very lightly and in one pass of paint as well. Otherwise you just end up moving that white paint. So yes, you can tone it down if you need to. Remember my old stiff bristle brush which I used for the masking fluid? This is sort of an acrylic oil painting brush really. You can use that with some sort of milky consistency white. And you want to use that just to splatter down here a little bit. Not much, a small amount for now. And then I'm going to start increasing this towards this area down here. But I'll also be using more of a stipple effect as well, which I'll show you very shortly. Then use that white paint again, but this time to stipple. And this will help create more of a foam effect. Make sure it's still creamy though. You want this nice and white. Not too much on the brush. Then work your way around, making it a little bit whiter the lower down it goes. But don't completely cover those colours underneath. And this will then blend the waterfall into the foam. You can now tone down some of that white in places by using a small amount of watery blue. Small amount, but not much. How deep you make your waterfall is entirely up to you, of course. For me, I think this is probably deep enough. Then it's all about fine-tuning and tweaking it in places. I think that will do, don't you? That's just one way of painting water. Just for a bit of fun, that's all it is. I'm not trying to complete a finished painting or anything like that. Now, if you do fancy another lesson on painting water, without using lots of masking fluid, have a look to the link to the top right hand corner of the screen. I'll see you there.